I'm very good. Yes.
How are you? Yeah, good to see you again. How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm gonna tell you what I've been asked to act. We're having a discussion on and I go to I was given personal time to would you like to come?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, good.
Cool. Awesome.
We're having it's going to be a lot of fun because
I'm listening.
I'd be more than happy to take you out.
Oh, I'm just joking.
And I forget
What
what
is it?
it's April 18th, and I think it's at
Saturday. Probably won't. No, I get something going on 4 to 6 Saturday. 4?
Okay, the 18th. Okay, cool. So I'll call you tomorrow.
So did the kid get in down there?
She got in.
Riley got in?
Yes. We're going to write her a letter too. She got a pepperoni.
Nice.
She did. She got into
I'm going to take all the credit.
You
You guys did an okay job, but it was my letter.
Since you're taking all the credit, we'll send you back.
I've got a couple of impressive goals myself. I got 2 daughters. I don't have as many as you guys have collected.
So she got in there, she got into Chapman, she got into Seattle year here.
She chose me.
She didn't get
What a purpose. What was her school? Was her
Harvard's a dream. But, Berkeley. And you're out of situation and you in California, you could never become president. I said, so apply. Not I'm not kidding. So, and Stanford. Pepperdine or Chapman. No kidding. So she's making up her mind. Chapman. Chapman gave her a lot of money. Pepperdine has to send her. She just got Chapman. Stanley got Chapman. Gave her.
What's Chapman? It's twice.
Yeah, right by him.
Yeah. Chapman.
Chapman.
Chapman. Is it always? Because I grew up right here. I mean, I grew up. You ran upstairs.
Yeah, it's like
Sorry, man. It's new.
I really was Chapman College. Hopefully,
But
right yourself up to it.
yeah, because I wanted to say
I'm sure a lot of people call Chapman College. Now it's Chapman College.
interesting. I know right where it is.
They're way in the back.
Congratulations.
Anyway, but no. They gave her Seattle New game. She did that. She went, she's a friend of mine.
She's doing everything right.
Yeah, when she came up, excited, and she's really like the fact that she wants to chatting on the and she wants to do it. Okay, they have a good game. Yeah, so I think that's cool.
All of them are doing
Yeah, they are good kids. Have you seen the baby? Friend's baby? They're so cute. And Brooklyn is getting big.
great. Changed in 1 year. It's like, no grandkids. Pretty fun.
Are you saying?
My youngest daughter just got proposed to.
Did she?
She was just taken away. She's just a star. She's too young. She's 20.
Yeah, that is a little bit. Yeah.
They're the right people. And they're not in a hurry. They're not
That's good.
married. I mean, they're going to get married.
Yeah. That's good.
She's fun. Making all the right noise. It only fits about 30
So
people.
back to art.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Then you can have really good hard cake and a burger. Fun. That's
Expensive one. It's mine.
We had David.
In Hawaii?
That's what
It's
they
yeah, what they did here. Because we all got to come to the fun.
Yeah.
It was one of the most fun parties I ever. Oh no, yeah. I go, oh my God, are we still in high school? No. I said, he would have been, you're your kid. He would have been fine to say, hey.
Yeah, I remember being.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, work together.
I can just see British on the bus.
Yeah, he probably
Be
does
pretty
have
quiet.
the look.
Yeah.
And I can just.
Don't approach him.
Yeah.
Headphones.
It's great.
I'm pretty sure she had the same.
We have probably.
She's about as boring as anyway, it's good to see you.
Okay, it's
Send
good.
me an
I'll get
invitation.
ahold of you tomorrow.
And you know how to reach me.
Yeah. How do you like it? Perfect. That's good. I like how it
Probably
done.
your. I've worked 16 months, right? I feel like I've been here 15 minutes. How did that do?
That makes sense. It's like,
Three disciplines. But it's all.
how does it operate? Until there's something, when can I go home? I know.
No,
My days.
promotion in 8 months. That's good.
It was great.
Down 87. Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Guys, take care.
Take care. Bye, John.
Be just a minute. Well, once all 5 of us are back, we'll begin. Thanks for your patience. So we are reconvening from executive session, and we appreciate your patience as we walk through this process to finalize this decision. I will now open the floor to the board to begin discussions about our 3 finalists.
Are you going to go through the process?
So what's going to happen this evening is we are going to kind of share our individual highlights, what we saw, how we went through this process. First I actually would like to take just a moment to talk about numbers. And so we had 15 stakeholder meetings that happened over 2 days last week. 338 individuals participated, and we want to thank you for your participation through this whole process, right? We brought you all together in December to share input for us to create our 10 qualities and characteristics that we tried to abide by and follow as we went through this process. And we used it kind of as our guiding light to determine where we were going to go and what was important in our next superintendent. But there were 338 participants, over 1,000 feedback forms that we received through our 2 days of process and our 15 stakeholder meetings. I do want to take an opportunity this time to thank Mr. Mark Kopang for leading our adult superintendent search committee. I also want to recognize the 18 students that we had representation from all of our high schools in the district that also participated in this process and shared their visions and things that they saw. And so that's kind of what we used as our process as we went through this. So we truly want to thank all of you for helping us make this decision, for giving us direction in the way we would go, and what we truly all wanted to see in our next superintendent. So each board member will now share what they saw, what they felt, how they see things. Once we discuss those qualities and how it aligns with what the characteristics were, at that point we will, once everybody has been able to share, we will then move into a process of taking nominations to determine who our next superintendent will be. So anybody like to share at this point?
I'll start, but my little thing is out of my. It was a very good process. It was a very intense process. You could tell.
I'm sorry, Danny was going to.
You know what? I did forget that. So
Oh, okay.
one thing I
You
want to
wanna
do
start?
before we
Okay.
start, thank you. I apologize. I forgot about this. You know, I think it's important to remind all of us what those characters and qualities and characteristics were. And so Director Peterson is going to share those with us on what guided us and to our decision.
These are the qualities and characteristics. Federal Way Public Schools seeks a superintendent who inspires trust, has high levels of self-confidence and optimism, and models high standards of integrity and personal performance. Number 2, possesses the leadership skills required to respond to the challenges presented by an ethnically and culturally diverse community. Number 3, is a strong communicator, whether speaking, listening, or writing. 4, possesses the ability to enhance student performance, especially in identifying and closing or narrowing the gaps in student achievement. 5, is strongly committed to a student-first philosophy in all decisions. 6, possesses excellent people skills, presents a positive image of the district, and will listen to input and make decisions when necessary. 7, is able to build consensus and commitment among individuals and groups with emphasis on parental involvement. 8, is capable of developing both short and long-range district goals. 9, is able to lead a large organization dedicated to the goals of continuous improvement and has successful experience in sound management practices, including appropriate participation of others in planning and decision-making. 10, has demonstrated strong leadership skills in previous positions and is comfortable leading innovation and reform efforts. And 11, is able to develop and communicate a vision of quality education for the future and has successful experience in the selection and implementation of educational priorities consistent with the interests and needs of students, staff, board, and the community.
Thank you, Director Peterson. One other thing I want to share is We had 67 of you that participated in the first forum on Wednesday morning, and 90 of you that participated on Thursday evening. And I've heard many, many times that over the processes that have been followed in the districts previously, that the participation is larger than had been seen. And actually, our Steve Rasmussen said that that was probably one of the largest turnouts he's seen in any district. And so I truly believe that we have tried to be transparent and included you in it, and we appreciate your participation as we did this. So now I will open it back up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for doing that. I think that, as I was going to say, it was a pretty intense couple of days, and we also had another set of interviews on Friday morning after our 2 days of community stakeholder meetings, which allowed us to have yet again another opportunity to speak with candidates and follow up based on kind of some things we heard or things we wondered or things that we didn't hear that we needed to ask about. I'll also say that we got an awful lot of communication from a lot of different people from a lot of different places, sharing a lot of different information on all of our finalists, making sure that we scratched the surface. A lot of people were wondering that we did our due diligence, we did our homework, that we talked to people, that we listened to all sides, and we thought about clearly what's best for the district. All three candidates brought something different, and they brought a different kind of strength. And that's, I think, what makes the decision a very difficult one for each one in their own right as a leader, and a leader who has come to that place because of the work that they've done before them. Myself as a director, it was very important to me that we look at those characteristics and consider the initiatives, the reforms, and the rigors that are going on in our state and our nation, and making sure that we're as strong as we can be on the instructional front, as well as and what it takes to support teachers and our educational leaders in Federal Way. And I think throughout the process and after having time to talk with all candidates and time to reflect myself, it was a decision I think that I could come to and know that I felt strong in to my core in kind of who I felt was the best match for Federal Way. And I know that you'll probably hear on either side of me directors who feel the same way.
Thank you. Before I begin talking specifically about the process, I want to particularly thank Sally McLean, who we put in a very difficult situation at a very difficult time in our district, and someone who helped us to calm down and look towards the future and come together as a district. And for that, I will always be thankful, because without that part, we would not be where we are today, being able to take the next step, looking towards our future from a very positive place. I also want to thank Jeffrey McAnalloy. Hiroshi helped him for a period of time, and then Hiroshi had to go to Kentucky. And so Jeffrey is really the one who designed, with our consultants, this whole process we've been through. And I know he's driven his family crazy, but he insisted that we have a process that our community could participate in and that we could feel proud of at the end of the day, that we had heard from as many people as possible, and that we were really listening to and understanding the desires of our community. I also want to thank the consulting firm, and Steve is here. They've done an excellent job of working us through a very cumbersome process when you begin with the number of applicants that we had. I think the last dozen that we had were excellent. We were very fortunate. I think we were also very fortunate that our three final candidates came from the local area. They know education in Washington State. They know our issues. and they know what diversity looks like in our communities. I have to say that I also am very at peace with what we're going to decide. It was hard. It was very hard, and I've even worked with one of the individuals. So I knew that person historically from my past, but when it came right down to it, what I heard from our community and our staff was, we want the best academic program for all of our students, and we really believe in this community that all means all, and we need to figure out how to get there. And so our job was to find that person who could do that for us. I think the important thing to say, though, is that I think all three, as Claire said, had a lot to offer us, and it was very difficult because you could see each one of those people taking a different course, a little different course, but likely getting us to the same place. But it was which one is ready now to take on where we are, and we had to choose from three, and that's what we're doing tonight.
This was a very, very tough decision because of the quality of the candidates. And I too want to thank Ms. Sally McLean, because she took us through some really rough waters. When she came in, the parents were up in arms about the grading system, with teachers that weren't giving all the talking points to be able to address the questions that they were getting from the parents. And there were people on the team that felt threatened. So she brought us to calmer waters. She hired, it kind of reminds me actually of the Los Angeles Dodgers when the O'Malleys sold to a dysfunctional new owner that didn't know which way was up, and they lost their entire fan base. And so Sally came in and she hired a new director of personnel. She hired a new director of media operations. She hired a new coaching staff, so to speak. She hired a new training manager. And they were great hires. But once we were done and we had a calm surrounding, we're really no longer in the same pond anymore. We're really out in international waters is how I look at it. When my children went to school here, they were truly a minority. And today when I go to the schools, it's a very, very diverse population that we find ourselves in. And so we needed, in my view, somebody that was going to be able to navigate in these new waters. I also felt that the way we speak so strongly about the strength of education, do well and you will do well in the future, the need for certifications in our teachers, quality, 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 that it was time that we actually needed to have that as well in our superintendent. So for me, that brought us to two candidates that everyone had a chance to meet, who had gone through all the training, certifications to be a teacher, to teach, to be certified as a principal and to lead, and to get certified as a superintendent, and to be at a district office, and also pursue their education in terms of a doctorate of education. So somebody that could speak to the team as a professional so that we could really start playing hardball and get some wins for the students. In that context, when I looked at these candidates, I think I made comments at the last meeting where we were kind of obscure in terms of who we were talking about, that there was a difference in terms of leadership and management style. And I believed it was important that the community got a chance to see both of these candidates and interact with them. And I think the community with their feedback showed that these two candidates were very strong. And so it comes down to a judgment decision on my part. And I do want to be one that's remembered as having a good judgment. I don't want to be the Mel Kiper of superintendent selections. So as I apply my judgment on this, I believe that one of the candidates is much stronger lined up for the situation that we have, is a much better matchup. And so I feel very comfortable with the decision I'm about to make tonight.
As I was walking in tonight, I had somebody in the hallway just say, "Wow, there's a lot of people here," and I just want to say thank you to those that came tonight. And I know there's some watching on TV as well, and you know, Jeffrey talked about how the attendance that we've had in the last few meetings this past week, and just the amount of emails and phone calls and texts and everything else that people seeing me at the coffee shop and wherever comments, not only in the last week but over the last months, I've taken it all to heart, and it's been good to see that this it's a community that we care about our schools. We want to see Federal Way schools succeed and be all that it can be, and it's been a great process. And I just want to thank those that have taken time to send us those comments and that feedback. And I know I have been listening, and it's been going into this process. This is one that I've been open to the whole time. It's been a roller coaster ride for me. It's been up and down. I think I have it figured out, and then all of a sudden it changes and it goes up, and there's just been so many factors that have been involved. But at the end of the day, even though it's a difficult decision, I find myself tonight coming to a place where I feel like it's a clear decision for me. And you know, as board members, we're called to make, I believe we're called to make the best decision with the information that we have. We don't have perfect information. We don't have everything that we'd like to see. We can't see into the future and be able to predict everything perfectly. But we can look at factors. We can listen to others, listen to the community for advice and wisdom and perspective. But at the end of the day, what we're called to and what we're elected to is to make the best decision with the facts that we have. And so that's where I'm coming at tonight. A difficult but a clear decision. And, you know, I look at all three of our candidates. All three of them have the capability to be good superintendents. And you know, there's different qualities about each one of them that I like. And I think like everybody, we have strengths. And there's definite strengths with each one of them that I feel comfortable with. And I think that definitely endear and make them great people and good superintendents, but we can only pick one as a board tonight, and I think that, and I hope tonight we're going to be able to make a decision together as a board on who we're going to choose for the next few years here in Federal Ways.
So me individually, what I decided to take as my focus as we walk through this process is student at the center always. In the decisions and as we walk through it, that was truly, along with our characteristics, what I looked at as I began to do it. And in the first process of first interviews that were actually in the 11 candidates, this individual shared a vision about culture. And that's culture of how things are created in a classroom. And when you walk in as a 5-year-old into kindergarten, how you feel when you walk through that door, how you're seen, how you're approached, how you're accepted, and into a place of where you can truly learn, that there's no other baggage and everything else is left at the door, and you're seen as one human being individually, no matter of anything else that you come with or anything else that happens on a home front. And then we went into the interview, it was even deeper that began to resonate with me about how important it is to understand that all, and when I say all, I mean all 22,000 students come to us in that way, and the teachers and every adult that they come in contact with as they go through their 13 years with us feels that they can truly be a part and participate and come in with a place of learning, and that the adults create that space. And so as we've walked through that, it got deeper and deeper, the understanding around this individual, of how it seemed to fit us best, all of us, this district, our students, our staff, our parents, the board. And for me, I too, as my counterparts have said, believe wholeheartedly in where I sit for our decision as we go forward. Are there any other comments or anything else to share from the board at this time? If not, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for our next superintendent.
President McAnally, I'd like to make a motion that the Federal Way School Board hire Dr. Tammy Campbell as the next superintendent of Federal Way Public Schools.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The only piece I would add to that, and we'll have to amend at this point, is that that acceptance will be once we have a contract of mutual agreement with that candidate.
So we offer contract.
Yeah, offered contract.
Friendly amendment so accepted.
I have a second on the friendly amendment.
Second?
Any other discussion? So the first motion is on adding a mutually agreed contract. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a 5-0 vote. Now we will vote on the motion to accept Dr. Tammy Campbell as the next superintendent of Federal Way Public Schools. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a 5-0 vote. Dr. Tammy Campbell will be our next new superintendent for Federal Way Public Schools. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.